Marita is a creative genius, conceptual, physical, and digital artist, as well as the owner of an incredible brand called Mayor, and wears many hats in the content creation and social media creative world, as well as being one of the coolest humans that I know. So we are excited to jump in.
You're so generous with that intro. I don't know if I deserve all that, but that was very kind.
Welcome back to the Schmood YouTube channel. I am joined today with Marita Musser, also known as Mariachi, Margarita, Tamagotchi, any other nickname you can come up with in the comments below. We are going to get to know her a little bit more today. She has been on the channel for one video. Some of you may have seen the girl in a button bag video, and we are super excited to have her. She's going to be a face on the channel for a while, help us with a bunch of videos and creating some amazing things, and we're just excited to get to know you more today. So thanks, Marita, for joining.
Yes, absolutely. I'm happy to be here.
All right, I'd love to know a little bit more about you and who you are, where you live, what you do, and what makes up Marita.
Yeah, so my name is Marita. I am currently living in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm from Pennsylvania and then went to college in South Carolina. So that's what originally pulled me down this direction. Planning to go on a little hiatus for a few months out of country, but then we'll probably circle back and land in Charlotte again, but to be determined. I went to school for marketing and then I also got my MBA, so all stuff in the business world. I worked corporate for the first 2 years, I think, after I finished my MBA. And then within the past 6 months, actually, what's the date? Almost to the day, 6 months ago, I lost my corporate job, which was really unexpected at the time, but honestly was such a blessing in hindsight because I kind of needed that push. So since then, I've been doing a lot of social media management for other brands and then also just making art and kind of building my platforms, trying to keep it in a really authentic way, which doesn't always mean that a check comes with it because I don't want to just sell out to brands. But yeah, right now I'm trying to figure out exactly where I land in the creative world. But what I do know is that I love making art and I love like following my inspiration and doing so in a way that hopefully is also inspiring to other people. One of my biggest the backbone of my brand is inspiration is contagious. And I truly believe that because I feel inspiration from other people and other places. And the art that it's like a ripple effect, like when you are inspired by someone and then you make something that also inspires other people and then that inspires them to make something that inspires other people and it just keeps going. Yeah, right now a lot of transition in my life, but in a really exciting way. I think 2025 is my year to just take some big risks.
You have a beautiful ability to bring the ideas in your mind to life in such an authentic manner. I'd love to know a little bit more of what your process looks like from idea to completion, or maybe even partial completion if you don't finish ideas all the way through. But I've just noticed through watching your work for a while now that even if it's not a physical piece, but it's simply just sharing the ideas or the thoughts in your brain, I just think you have a really cool and authentic way of sharing that. So I don't know if you have a process from how you go from idea to creation, how quickly that all happens, but if there is a process, I'd love to know more about it.
Well, it's interesting that you say even projects that aren't finished because that's something I'm trying to be so intentional about, seeing projects through to completion because I definitely, especially last year, I had a lot of open projects that I was like, if I would have just pushed a little harder at the final stretch, I could have wrapped things up. And it feels so rewarding to have something that's just complete. So it's something that I think I've gotten a lot better at, but I'm still there's always room to improve in that. And I think sometimes that you need to let a project just sit and rest for a little bit and then revisit it. Maybe sometimes you might be hitting a wall and you do need to just let it breathe for a little bit. But yeah, process wise, It's interesting because I've never lived inside someone else's brain, so I don't know like relatively what to compare anything to. But I do have a really, really specific and vivid imagination, and pretty much anything that I like want to create, like I can see it in my head first, and I can like
Mm,
I build it and plan it all out very, very clearly in my head.
yeah.
Um, and I didn't even realize until a few years ago that some people don't have the ability to like I guess I just have a more vivid imagination than some. Like some
Mm,
people can't like close their eyes and fully picture something and like create it.
yeah.
Um, and so I think that's something that once I realized that not everybody has that, I was like, wow, I'm so thankful because I would be so bored if my brain didn't like I'm just never bored because my brain is just always going. Um, so yeah, as far as process, I gain inspiration from a lot of different ways, usually tangible things. Like I'll see
Okay.
something in real life that maybe reminds me. I notice that my brain like always wants to make parallels. So I'll see something that reminds me
Mm,
of something else, and then I think the ideas generate that way often. But also online, like Pinterest is my safe place, and I get a lot of inspiration on Pinterest
yep.
and books, like not like novels, but like art books, coffee table books. I don't know, just like I think living life and being aware of your surroundings when you go places and see new things. Like for example, a while ago, I was working at a golf course, and this was like actually a few years ago. Um, it was when you know those like weird shapes were really in, like the little like blobs almost. It was
Uh,
like I
like
think what you'd
physical
see more.
pieces?
It was usually in like graphic design. I'm trying to think. It was more just like the shape and the style was really common.
Okay.
I was out like on the course one day on the bev cart, and I noticed all the sand dunes were like shaped like that, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, like that must have been where someone must have seen that and been like, this is a really cool design." Like I think
Dang.
oftentimes graphic design and stuff, it is somehow inspired by or sourced by something that someone sees in real
Yeah.
life and serves another purpose too.
Yeah.
But so yeah, so normally I like envision something pretty clearly in my head, and then the first draft in my brain is a little lofty and kind of like, well, what if this would work? It'd be really cool. But then the next draft is like, okay, if like realistically, step by step, what would have to take place to
Yeah.
create this? And then I it might be because I'm a little bit impatient. I also just like when I get an idea, I usually have to act on it right away. It's like a
Yeah.
now or never type of situation. Mostly because I just get so excited and I'm just like, I have to do this right now. So usually I'm like, come up with an idea, can't sleep, like will like have to do it right away. I forget what part of the question that was answering. You said something that made me think about that, and I was like, yeah, I'm not good at waiting on my ideas. Like I usually have to
Yeah.
get down to it because I'm just super excited.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Which
had asked like the time between like ideation and actual creation, you know? Yeah.
right, yeah. There's not normally a very large gap, which has pros and cons as everything in life does.
Yeah.
One thing I have noticed with that is sometimes it's difficult for me to work on like larger projects on a team because
Hmm.
it requires you to wait for other people to also like fulfill their part. So that's something we're working on. But yeah, I it's also difficult. I can picture my ideas so clearly in my head, but it's sometimes difficult for me to vocalize and explain it. Like for
Yeah.
example, the girl in a bag piece. If I would have like when I first had the idea, because I made the original one like a year and a half ago out of a Vogue magazine. And I remember trying to tell someone, I was like, I have this really cool idea that I want to make tomorrow. And I was like, you know those little like button bags that you get when you get a sweater and they come with like an extra button? What if I like chop up a magazine and like fit it in and blah blah and I'm like explaining it. And then I show them the final and they're like, that's not at, like that's sick. That's not at all what I was picturing when you're explaining it. And I was like, dang, that's like it's so hard for me to explain my ideas. Sometimes because they're just a little bit in the clouds and they're already out there, so like it's hard to picture it.
Yeah.
But it is something that I'm like trying to get better at, I guess. But in some ways, it's like I don't know if I ever really will get better at it. Um, but yeah, it makes it harder to work on teams when you can't vocalize your ideas. So I am trying to work on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's almost this cool thing because it's like you get to keep it to yourself in a way and know how you create best or how you envision it. But
Hmm.
obviously, there are projects that require other people. It's like explaining things can definitely help that process, but it's also cool to just like make something and then just have the surprise factor of like, yeah, I that was not what I was expecting, or that's not what I
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be at all. So I
And I
think
think
that
that's how, honestly, I think that's how a lot of my art has been, is that like even if I would say it in words to myself, I can recognize that if I was the listener hearing that, it would sound like a dumb idea. Like it doesn't make any sense. But I think that's sometimes the coolest art doesn't make sense until you like see it and can fully understand it.
I think that's so cool, and I think even just as you're explaining kind of your process in a sense of just from idea to actual creation, it is such a unique talent and something that definitely not everyone has, where they can, maybe they could envision part of the process or sections of it, but like it seems like you can really envision the whole project, almost like the final piece in your head and like how it's come together. And so I think that is just a super special talent and a testament to like why you can create such cool things. I'd love to jump in and learn a little bit more about your brand, Mayor, and kind of a little bit more of the origin, kind of where the name comes from, how you came up with the idea, and what your kind of goal is with the brand.
So the name Mare is the first two letters of my first name, first two letters of my middle name, Marita Renee. And one of my high school friends always called me Mare. So that's kind of where that was the inspiration behind the name. The basis of it as of now has mostly been sewing and clothing design and some embroidery work, but the boundaries are pretty wide. I don't want to like put myself in a box. This has been like kind of protected as my little safe thing.
Yeah.
So I have done like some poster work. I've done other random like tangible. I guess the framework of it is that is all art that is can be held in a tangible way,
Mm.
for the most part at least. So all of my creative stuff kind of lives there, and I release things in collections. So I'll have a collection that has a certain theme. I'm the direction I'm moving with it is going to be that each collection is like very like I'll make a playlist for the collection. I did that for the last one, which is
Oh,
really fun. I'll have like a Pinterest board dedicated to like style ideas of how you can style the pieces. I just started making typefaces, like fonts. So moving forward, I want to make a typeface for each collection, and then all of the marketing for the collection will be using the typeface, but the typeface will also be available as a digital download for people to buy. I think that's also something that I'm trying to dip my toes in is the field of digital products, because when I started Mare, I was still working a corporate 9 to 5, so it for sure was just my like side hobby, little protected baby. And
yeah.
now I am full-time creative, so I have to actually be mindful of ways to like monetize certain things, and I want to still do that in a very authentic way, even if that means making less money. I don't want to like I will not jeopardize my authenticity for a check, which has been challenging because when you just dive headfirst into full-time freelancing, it's quite a world. But yeah, that's kind of the direction that I'm moving with Mare. I guess I can kind of just drop secrets on here I don't because I feel like this is a space to do so.
Yeah,
Um,
I
but
love
I'm
it.
working on making, well, originally I wanted to make an art book about like of all of my archived work. And then, and I still do want to make an art book, but I'm going to start with a magazine that's still
Okay.
like can live forever. You know, it's not like a magazine that you would just like page through once and then throw away. It can
Yeah,
still serve kind of as like, coffee table type piece.
that's awesome.
But yeah, I want to make a magazine of all of my archived work, and have it be very like almost like interactive. Like maybe I'll have a certain page that like if that page there's a certain smell in my life that was really distinct when I was making that page, I'll like spray that page with some sort of scent, and so then
Whoa.
it like that. Or I can again incorporate playlists. Like if there's a playlist that I listened to when I was making a certain art piece, I can like have a little QR code that takes you to the playlist. Or I don't know, just like very like
Yeah.
interactive like that. So yeah,
Oh,
next up from there, I'm hoping to work on a magazine to
okay.
have as like tangible thing for all of my past work, and then I guess I can just keep releasing new episodes as I make more art in the future. I think it will help me feel like I tied up some loose ends with past pieces if I have like a place that it can tangibly live forever. So,
Yeah. That's really, yeah, that is wise. What you just said at the end there of like, are you saying past pieces that you haven't finished, or past pieces that like didn't fully get a space to like to live or have a longer life cycle? Is that what you mean?
yeah, I think, I mean, a little bit of both, but I think a lot
Okay.
of it is maybe past pieces that like meant a lot to me, but maybe didn't. Well, I don't want it to be like I don't do things for the like eyes of others to approve or not. So I guess
Yeah.
it's mostly just for me personally. But then it
Yeah.
also can have space to have more like writing. Most of the pieces that I do, whether I explain it to the world or not, for me personally, have a deeper meaning. Even the girl in a button bag piece, which we can talk about more of the deeper meaning if you want to dive into that.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
they normally all of my art is generated out of like personal things that I'm going through most times, which I think is true for most artists because art is a way to express the way that you're feeling.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I think that if I wrap it all up in a magazine, then I can also include some of like the pieces that I've written that explain them, and yeah, just have random. I mean, it can include anything I want. There are no rules, which is the best part. I
Yeah.
could like include a random recipe that I was making a whole bunch during a certain phase of life. Like it, I just feel like there's no boundaries with it, which is cool.
Maybe we can chat about the girl in a button bag project a little bit and hear some more kind of how you came up with that idea, and then how the process went for you as far as the most recent one that you completed, and yeah, maybe just chat about your thoughts on that for a little bit.
So the original, like I said, I made the original one about a year and a half ago. Making it was like super healing for me in a lot of ways. And I think that when I had the idea, it was just like a fun, cool, creative idea. And then as I was making it, I was like feeling like there was like the deeper meaning behind it kind of was unfolding as I was making it.
Mm.
And I wrote this piece about being a girl in a glass house, and it kind of talks about like being transparent but not vulnerable, or like I guess the
Mm-mm.
difference between transparency and vulnerability. And the poem or like the piece that I wrote about it talks about like how, and this is kind of like personal, but like I'll let, and this was also okay, this was for in this specific moment in time, so it's like a year and a half ago, which I mean some pieces of it still resonate. But at this specific time in my life, I was like, I feel like I let people see a lot from the outside, but I'm too scared to like let someone actually in the door.
Mm-mm.
I feel like the fact that the girl is like in little, like in these transparent little clear bags, and you can see so much and like know a lot of details, but not actually get close enough to touch. That was, yeah, that was
Wow.
kind of the meaning behind the original. And then it turned out really cool. It's actually on my wall right there. But I'll
Oh,
send
whoa.
you. I wanted to get prints of it and sell it as a poster. And then I was like, this is actually crazy copyright issue because it's like a Prada ad or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
So then I was like, at some point I want to remake it, but with a photo that I own. So one of my good friends, Jono, um, it was actually just like a fun shoot that we were doing because he was testing some new lighting that he had, and it turned out really cool. The photo did. I have the piece right now, but so he took this
That's good.
photo of me, and then I was like, I feel like this would be perfect for the remake of Girl in a Button Bag,
Yeah.
and I own the photo, so it's perfect if I end up wanting to get prints of it. So yeah, if you didn't get the original, but you do want a poster of it, we're gonna get some of those made, and we'll
Yes.
make sure the links are all at your fingertips. The Girl in a Glass House piece that I wrote was first inspired by a conversation that I had with a friend, and she was saying how she felt very similar about being super okay with being transparent, but having a difficult time actually letting someone in the glass house,
Hmm.
letting everyone see something from the outside, but not letting them get close enough to touch. And so then after that conversation is when I wrote the poem, and that was actually after I had made the piece. And when I was I not in a weird way, but I felt very connected to this piece that I made, and I was like, I feel like this girl is me. And then
Hmm.
after I wrote that, I want to say it was maybe 3 weeks separation between when I made the piece and then wrote the poem. I wrote the poem and I was like, it's literally the girl in a button bag. And then it just all made sense in my brain. And then after
Hmm.
that happened, then I was like, good thing I couldn't sell this piece even if I wanted to, because now I'm really emotionally attached to it.
Yeah. Now it's yours. It's
Yeah,
you, you
forever.
know. One of the things that makes you super unique is that you are fully and abundantly yourself. But what's interesting about that is you're fully and abundantly yourself from what I can see, right? Like
Mhm.
from the things you're willing to share. So you are like fully and abundantly yourself, but there could be a whole nother layer of that, which is kind of what you're sharing with the girl in a button bag and the glass house and that whole concept. But from my perspective, you are that way, and so the question would kind of be does that come naturally to you, or is that something you've had to really work for? And maybe it comes in seasons or comes in waves too of that of just being fully yourself.
It's something that I think maybe was nurtured when I was young. So I guess an element of that maybe came naturally, but also my parents were really incredible at fostering our creativity and championing us for who we were as individuals. But it's something that ebbed and flowed, and there was seasons that I was more secure in that, and then seasons where I wasn't as secure in that. And I think
Hmm.
I've gotten to a point now where there's not much that could shake that. I have a fear of being misunderstood. So I think that is sometimes my biggest roadblock. But I don't ever, there's nothing that I would want to do to crack my authenticity.
Hmm.
So I think above all, I want to be authentic and genuine in everything I do and filled with integrity. But sometimes if there's something that I feel like I'll be misunderstood with, then maybe I won't share it. Or
Hmm.
I don't know, that's something I'm still working through. And I think my platform is not huge right now online, so it's probably easier. But I think if my platform were ever larger, that would be something that I would have to be just really come to terms with, that the right people might, or some people might misunderstand you, but the right people will
Yeah.
see it for what it is. Or I think that sometimes being misunderstood, not that it's a good thing, but maybe sometimes people take something out of, especially if you're making art or sharing words, they take the pieces out that they can apply to their personal life. And that's maybe okay.
Yeah.
If they're pulling out the pieces that mean something to them
Yep.
and it feels valuable to them in that way, then that's great. I think that in the past I've always only wanted them to take out the way that I felt about it. And it's
Hmm.
well, I don't when I look at someone else's art, maybe I'm taking out what applies to me and not what applied to them too. We all do it. We naturally yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that as I've as I've gotten more secure in who I am as an artist, which is like crazy to even give myself that title, but I think I've come to terms with the fact that sometimes you might be misunderstood, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, not everyone. I think we were talking about this the other day. Not everyone's going to understand, but the right people will.
Yeah.
And yeah, or maybe they'll only understand a portion of it, but it helps them in some way.
Mhm.
And you're too humble because you are an artist. You are very much an artist. But
It's actually crazy. This is like so timely because that might be the first time I've ever like vocally given myself that title. But last week when I was journaling, I forget what it was specifically about, but something about like my dream role, like when someone asks what I do, my dream would just be to say that I'm an artist, and I haven't felt like I was like to that point yet. And then literally 2 days after I was journaling about that so specifically, one of my friends, we were having like a co-working coffee date, and she was like, "What would your like dream title be?" And in my head, I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is my opportunity to say it." I just journaled about this, and so I told her, I was like, "I think my dream title would to just say that I'm an artist." I mean, that's also a pretty vague thing. Like anyone can
no,
say that,
I
I guess.
mean, anyone can, but like, yeah, maybe it's just getting to a point where you genuinely believe it or whatever it is, but you are very much an artist. You mentioned a little bit about your parents being really good at fostering a creative space and really championing you and your siblings in those creative ways. I'd love to know like a little bit more about kind of where that creativity has like stemmed from. Is it somebody specific in your family? Yeah, even a little bit more background as far as what that looked like, and then kind of pushing you into a creative space.
I don't know if there's a specific person in my family that was like known as like a creative, but my family has always been very much of like a figure it out, do it yourself type of family, I guess.
Yeah.
And growing up, my siblings and I were homeschooled. I was homeschooled until high school, and then I went to public school for high school. But when we were younger, we were given a lot of opportunities to like learn how to do things, but then do them ourselves. And
Mm.
part of that stemmed from us not growing up with money. So, like, for example, we didn't, like, from a very young age, we had to pay for most of our own stuff. But so, like, instead of our parents paying for those things for us that most parents or like our friends' parents were, like a phone bill and things like that, my
Okay.
parents just did a really good job at offering opportunities to help us make money to be able to do it. And I think that, like, set all of us up really well to, like, yeah, be able to think on our own and
Hmm.
do things on our own. It actually started in middle school. When I was in middle school, I started a photography letter art business called Marita's Masterpieces. Rest in peace. It carried me actually all the way through sophomore year of college, I think, was like my
Okay.
main source of income, whatever that means when you're in eighth grade. But I mean, it kind of did because I
Yeah.
was like paying for like most of my like all my own clothing, my like most of my stuff I
Wow.
paid for. I mean, obviously not like food, and I wasn't paying my parents rent. Like it wasn't. I didn't grow up like.
Anything
I'm
else
not
you
trying
want, though.
to. I like grew up like impoverished. It wasn't like that. But but yeah, I took pictures of things in like architecture and nature that looked like letters, and then I made words out of it. And we would cut and sand and paint blocks of wood, and then they would just like sit on a shelf,
Oh,
or you could hang it on a wall. But I went to so many like art fairs, craft shows, all those pop-up markets, and my parents helped me so much with it. Like truly would not have been able to do it without them. We had a whole woodshed devoted to this that my dad would help like with all the
wow.
cutting and painting. Like they poured hours into this, and like that was an example of how even though there was things that in my life that I was paying for as an eighth grader that most eighth graders didn't pay for, they were essentially paying for them in a way because like I wasn't paying them to be my employees. They were doing it because they
Yeah.
were really helping me and giving me an opportunity to make that money on my own.
I guess I would love to know a little bit more about if money were no object or finances were just covered, what would you spend your days doing?
I think that I would create more, like whatever I woke up and was feeling inspired by that day, I would be able to just create it right away. Right now, I'm creating content for other clients a lot because that's what's paying me. But if that wasn't the case and I could just truly create whatever was inspiring me and be making art for myself, then I think I'd be able to like act quicker on my inspiration and probably just all kinds of random mixed media art,
Hmm.
conceptual art, sewing, clothing.
Where would you live?
It's crazy I've been talking about this because like I'm literally going to because I'm just in a position right now where it's like do or die. But I would live in a very industrial feel studio apartment, really tall ceilings, concrete floors, white brick walls, huge windows, lots of natural light.
You've been crushing it on YouTube lately as well, doing a lot of your own content, kind of vlog and project style, and just documenting your life. How has that journey been for you so far? Have you enjoyed it?
Still very new, but so far it's been great. I started as a secret and I wasn't going to tell anyone. And then I'm not very good at keeping secrets, I've realized, and I started getting excited, so I started telling people. And then I did an apartment tour I visited my brother and sister-in-law in Minnesota and did an apartment tour of their space because their space is really cool. And the video kind of blew up. I mean, whatever, I don't know, got like 15,000 views, which for me, like I literally had like
Yeah,
56 subscribers. Like I didn't really have a platform at all. And then I was like, this might be really fun. This might be kind of addicting.
yes.
But I don't know. We'll see. I don't think people are like interested enough just in my life for vlogs to be the core of what my page is about. I want the core of my page to be about like art videos and the projects that I'm working on,
Hmm.
unless I go really cool places. So when I leave the country, then maybe vlogging will be
You
of more
must.
interest to an audience.
Yes.
Uh, but if I ever like kind of the vision, if this would like work, would be to have vlogs be my like retainer piece to like retain my audience, and
Hmm.
then really cool art process videos or apartment tours, more creative videos that are a little planned out to be my like collection piece where I like can reach a new audience.
Yeah.
But yeah, YouTube has felt really fun and safe for me. I guess mostly because I started it as a secret, so just random people were finding it. But it was easy to be really vulnerable because not many people were watching.
Yeah.
And now I feel like my friends who do watch are the friends who like intentionally would like to be part of my life. So then that
Yeah.
also feels safe to be sharing with them.
Yep.
I think that if you take the time to like watch someone's whole YouTube video, you like care about knowing about them in some way.
Yeah.
So far YouTube has felt really fun. It's still very new to me. I have never edited long form content until a few weeks ago. So,
If you would like to watch Marita's videos, you can find the link somewhere on the screen or in the description because they'll be amazing. And I'm sure over the next year or so of your adventures, it's just going to be even cooler. So I'd love to hear your thoughts as well on just the collaboration with the Schmood channel here and the stuff that we're working on. Obviously, this first Girl in a Button Bag project, but I know you have a handful of other projects in mind for future videos, and just kind of how it flows together with what you're doing and what we're doing, and just your thoughts on it all.
I'm stoked. I'm super excited. I feel like the backbone of Schmood has also been stuff that you create in the tangible world, and that's I understand that form of art very
Yeah,
closely because that's also what I do. So like even some of the older pieces that are like so out there, I'm like, no, I get it. Like this is no, like I understand. So I'm just honored to be part, even if it's in like such a small capacity.
yeah. As Brian and I were just chatting kind of as we're getting into our partnership and working on new things, I just saw so much vision for growth within Schmood and the possibility of bringing new people in and new creatives and just creating a super fun environment with all sorts of different types of art and types of creatives. And you had just immediately come to mind. So I'm just super stoked that it's all worked out thus far, and I know that the things that we'll continue to create will just only get better and better. So we're just excited to be partnering with you and have your face and your creativity on the channels.
Thank you. Thank you for not only being a visionary, but also a doer, because there's plenty of people that come to me with like big visionary ideas, and sometimes like the idea is out there, but then not necessarily the dedication to follow through and like really make it happen. And that could be more false for the way that you live your life and carry yourself. And I knew that coming into this partnership. But I just want to like vocalize that I really appreciate that you present an opportunity, but then also take the steps to see it through. And yeah, that doesn't always happen with everybody,
Yeah.
and it doesn't go unnoticed.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's been fun. It's been such a fun journey so far, and I just see even so much more vision. Maybe we'll have to fly to Europe with you and film you working on stuff in Europe. But speaking of, I would love to hear kind of what is next for you, what you're working on, what 2025 looks like. I know you've just got a lot of stuff in the works, and it's going to be a massive growth year and foundational year. So walk us through what you're working on.
No one other than my family and close friends know this yet, but I am planning to spend this spring in Europe starting March 1st. So that's like awfully soon.
Yeah.
Which I'm super excited about. I feel so called and aligned on the path that I'm walking on right now, but it's also really scary because there's some big risks and a lot of unknowns. I put my 45-day notice in for moving out of my house yesterday, and that felt like the last thing that was like, once I do this, it's just full send. There's literally no turning back.
Game over.
Literally.
Or game
So
just started.
my, yeah, honestly, like that, yes. My goal and vision for 2025 is for it to be my year of just creating art and kind of just going all in at whatever cost. Being wise about it, obviously, going where the spirit leads
Yeah.
me. But I'm not very money driven. I just need to pay my bills, and that's about it. So my plan is to go to Europe and focus on making YouTube videos and making art and making my magazine while I'm there. I also want to start like building my community more, and probably in the form of Patreon,
Okay.
and then like sending them tangible things every month, like postcards and stickers or other random things that I design.
Yeah.
And then like send them my fonts that I'm making, send them to my subscribers for free, revealing videos that I've worked on, like more BTS type videos on
Yeah.
my Patreon. So yeah, kind of just like a little expedition to explore, because I think I would regret that for the rest of my life if I didn't take an opportunity to travel to Europe when I was young. But also want to really like focus on creating art. I think I'm going to go through The Artist Way, that book, while I'm in Europe. I feel like that just feels so fitting for the season
Yeah.
of life that I'm in. And then when I move back, I currently live in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so as of now, the plan is to move back to Charlotte when I come home and into the apartment that I filmed the video in. And then when I'm in there, it's really just going to be create art. My atmosphere very directly affects my inspiration and the art that I can create. And I feel like that apartment is just the ideal setting for me to just create a whole bunch of beautiful art.
Yeah. Just unlock your fullest potential.
I'm so
That's
excited.
cool. Thank you so much, Marita, for joining us today and allowing us the chance to get to know you more and just learn about your creative process and what art means to you. Looking forward over the next couple of months and potentially years to just see your artwork evolve and your creativity. If you would like to, go ahead and check out the Girl in a Button Bag video. It was an amazing piece and just super special. If the original hasn't sold yet, you also may have a chance to get that. If you don't get the original, we're also selling prints, so you can find that below to get access to a print, and it will surely liven up your space or wherever you end up using the print. And then all of Marita's links will be below to her YouTube, Patreon, and then some behind the scenes episodes that she has from Girl in a Button Bag as well. So thank you again, Marita. If you have any closing words, we'll wrap up here.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you so much, Grayson. You're the best.
You are.
All right, so be sure to like and subscribe. Go ahead and hit that bell notification. And yeah,